All righty, sports fans, welcome on in. It is the Sean O'Connell Show here on ESPN 792.1 FM. I'm Scott Mitchell filling in for Sean. Wow, something just went down my throat and it will not leave. Anyways, welcome to the show. So happy to be here. So happy to be a part of the ESPN Utah Radio Network, and so happy to be chatting with you about sports. We got a big day today, and you don't want to miss a bit of it. And so never fear, just look for technology. Technology will help you. Technology is your friend. It's not the enemy. So go to ESPN700sports.com. You can live stream us. Go to ESPN 700 Sports app, which is free. You can download the podcast portion. You can also listen on there as well live, and it's free. So for free, it's for me. Of course, we're on YouTube at ESPN 700 Sports Utah. So you can't miss a thing. You don't want to miss a thing from today. Really exciting. And one of the fun things about the change in college football is having more access to players. You know, all these players were so protected and guarded, and you didn't get in to talk to the players at all. Well, now the players are like, yeah, I'll talk to you for a fee, or because you're the flagship program of the school. They're very, very happy to meet with you. And of course, the quarterback for Utah, Devin Dampier, we got his first interview. This is a long form. He sat down with OC, and we're going to hear that today. So that'll be a lot of fun. A lot of sound from up on the hill. A lot of very good, insightful, interesting things to talk about today. So really, really excited. And of course, we have hot lunch. Yeah, they bring it in. It's pretty cool. They bring in something different every day. It's Big Willie's, and of course, the Sean O'Connell Show is brought to you by Big Willie's. Big Willie's Sports Bar in Salt Lake City. From craft food to craft cocktails, they are the sports bar. Check them out today, 1717 South Main Street. Of course, Baskin Robbins, which is my favorite. I should tell you a story about, like, my freshman year of high school. I did an unusual thing. So I lived in Utah County. I lived in Springville. This is very close to Provo. Most people in Salt Lake don't even know where Springville is, which is weird. We're so geographically challenged. You go, so where are you from? Springville. And they're like, oh, where's that? And they're like, I've never heard of it. Anyways, I was probably 10 minutes from BYU, grew up a huge fan, related to Lavelle Edwards, had close ties to a lot of the figures at BYU, some of the great names there, and also the baseball coach, Gary Pollins, who's a wonderful individual. Just thought the world of him. Of course, Bobby Knoll, his assistant there, just great people, and they had a huge impact on my life even today. And Coach Knoll invited me to come and work out with their baseball team during the off season, my freshman year of high school. So instead of playing basketball in the winter, I went over to BYU and practiced with Wally Joyner, Corey Snyder, and all these guys. It was really cool. It was like beyond cool. And so my mom had to drive me because I'm not old enough to drive. So she drive me over there every day, Smithfield House. And afterwards, I would go to Baskin Robbins every day with my mom. And so reading this thing about Baskin Robbins and this relationship here at ESPN, it just brought back that memory. And so I'd go practice with the baseball team. I'd go to Baskin Robbins. I'd get peanut butter and chocolate, which is my favorite ice cream flavor, and pralines and cream, which I still love to this day. So Baskin Robbins has 31 days of football brought to you by Baskin Robbins. Great football conversations Monday through Friday, covering, of course, the Utes, Big 12, and the NFL as we close in on the start of the season. I mean, we are right around the corner, folks. And we have classic calls every Saturday at, of course, 12. Leading up to the season opener, next one, of course, is UCF, the game from last year. All right.
Yeah, OC and I joked the other day about the UCF game being the game that made us feel just a little bit better about the season. Because ending the season on a win, ending that awful losing streak. So I know, like, this year's lineup of classic calls, not the most exciting, but you got to think about last season was not the most exciting. So we did our best to pick the best four here.
Yes, and it's a great point. It's like playing that round of golf where you're just horrible. And you swear you're going to break all your clubs. You're never going to play golf again. It's the worst game in the world. And then you have that one shot. You have that one shot out of all of the shots you have all
End
day,
it on an ace somehow.
and it brings you back. And that's what the UCF game was. It was that one shot in a terrible round of golf that's going to bring us back. And of course, we are back, and we're full of optimism.
You even had the pick six extending the pick six streak in that UCF game. So not only a win, but you also got to keep that great streak going. What's it? 20 straight years, maybe 19 straight years with the pick six. Wouldn't have happened without that UCF game. So yeah, we're ending it on just like the Utes ended the last year on a high note and a terrible season. We're ending kind of a mediocre classic call season on a high note here. Also, did you know we have a week 0 game on the station on Saturday, Scott?
Oh, no, I did not know that. So please tell me, Jake.
We have the biggest game.
Oh.
Kansas versus Fresno State.
Oh, okay.
It's not Farmageddon. Farmageddon's the big one. Westwood One. It's part of our Westwood One football package that we were able to get the Monday, Thursday, and Sunday night football, NFL, and playoffs and Super Bowl. But they also have some college football games, and their offering is Kansas, Fresno State from week 0. So that's also part of our 31 days.
Very nice. Football. So it's on like Donkey Kong, and that's happening this weekend. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's Saturday. We are 3 days away from football.
Oh my goodness! So you can listen to you can listen to an actual football game, college football game, on ESPN 700 on Saturday. That's amazing. All right, okay. Really, I got some fun stuff to talk about, and we're just gonna some of these headlines. I like to start to show off with some headlines and some things that I found to be very interesting. Speaking of the University of Utah and football. Devon Vele, who was a 7th-round pick of the Denver Broncos, has been traded to the New Orleans Saints, and it's an odd thing. It really is an odd thing because he's such a young player, and he had a pretty solid year. You know, he was respectable. He made some big time contributions. To me, it's fascinating that he's predominantly a slot receiver, and because he's big, you know, and typically the slot guys are kind of scatty, you know, shifty. Like a Julian Edelman kind of player, and Vele is really, really big. So very, very, very interesting that he was traded, especially after 1 year. And usually you trade for a player because you like them or there's a lot of value there. And people felt like this was good value in the sense that he was a 7th-round draft pick, and the Broncos got a 4th-rounder for him. So that was kind of a bonus for them, and they felt that they had the ability to do it because of the receiver room. They felt pretty highly about the depth of at least the receiver room that they have. And you know, another thing, Vele's 27, and it's one of those things where you go, it's a sad thing, but you go, there's his ceiling right there. Typically, an older player that comes in, there's not a lot of this guy's really going to improve or. From here, and he's good, but that I'm sure that factored into it. And they said, man, it's probably a ceiling, and he'll end up going, you know, that's kind of the best we're going to get, which is fine. The other thing about being in the slot, and it differs, but for the most part, your best corners are on the outside. Your shutdown corners, your lockdown corners, your best guys. Typically, you know, being in the slot means you're probably on the 3rd or 4th best defender on the defense. So Devon Vele wasn't going up, and I'm not knocking him at all because I was very impressed with what he did a year ago, especially as a rookie. But the point is that, you know, it really helps him, and he fits in very nicely in New Orleans with their situation with the receivers. But what's tough is, like, I don't know who their quarterback's going to be. You know, if Derek Carr was healthy and Derek Carr was there, Devon Vele, man, that's super exciting. But when you're trying to determine between two not really outstanding quarterbacks, that's a tough one. Kellen Moore is an offensive-minded coach. That's a positive. That could bode well down the road. New Orleans itself is not my favorite place in the world. In fact, it's like maybe one of my least favorite places. I actually had an opportunity to go and play there, and I was like, man, I just don't see. I understand the Mannings are from there and whatever. I guess they like it, but I don't know why. Not one of my favorite places. So fascinating to me. It was just a fascinating trade in general. Just if Devon Vele was not a Utah tie, it still would be a fascinating trade to me because he's just this young player, and there's just not a big body of work. It's like cut the guy, but they were able to. There was a lot of interest in Devon Bailey, and so they're like, shoot, I don't know that he's going to be a guy that even plays for us a lot this year. There may be players that we've brought in or we've drafted that we feel might be better than Devon, or at least maybe not better, but they may have a bigger upside. They may have a longer window to them than Devon, and I'm happy for Devon. I loved watching him. I loved him at Utah. He was a great player here, I thought, and so his saga as a football player moves on, and it's I would say it's pretty epic to be a 1-year guy doing well, and then all of a sudden you get traded. So it's a scary thing. Okay, here's another one, and I find this, man, I don't know how I feel about this, because this is Urban Meyer, and we all know Urban. Urban really elevated the sights of people associated with Utah football. Urban Meyer took Utah football to a place that I think nobody thought it could go. And there was something about him. He was special. He was a guy, he's a tough coach, very tough coach, but won everywhere he went. In college, not the pros. His game, the circumstances certainly didn't pan out in Jacksonville. I mean, that's the fastest firing of a coach I've ever seen in my life. And, he didn't even have a chance to prove that he wasn't very good. I mean, he was just out the door so quickly. But Urban Meyer has been very vocal about Jim Harbaugh and his situation about the sign stealing. Of course, we talked about this extensively yesterday. And I tend to agree with Urban Meyer. This was a very egregious thing. We talked about, man, imagine having the answers to the test before you take it. That's essentially what it was. And the outcome will be the same. I mean, they went undefeated. Now, Harbaugh had a hard time beating Ohio State. In fact, he never beat Ohio State when Urban was there. And Urban Meyer, by the way, does not like Jim Harbaugh to start with. Doesn't like him, and there's this, and it's because Harbaugh was a former player, and there's a bit of resentment that Harbaugh, comes in and does his thing. In fact, I've heard Urban Meyer actually say, all of his assistants do the work. He's just a figurehead. And I'm like, well, that's how most head coaches are. They're overseeing all of their coaches. So he has to do that. And so there's in hearing this, there's a bit of a bias there. Like, man, I hate that Harbaugh, and he cheated, and they should cut off his fingers. They should do something. And of course there's the Ohio State-Michigan rivalry on top of that. So we have to read this with a grain of salt a little bit. But on the flip side of it, Urban Meyer brought up Jim Tressel, who was actually lost his job because of an infraction, and then went to the NFL and was suspended for the first 6 games of the season. And the NFL upheld what the college had done. With Harbaugh, that's not been the case. He fled, he fled his country. He's out in exile in the NFL now, where he's free and protected from the law. Now, Urban Meyer brought up a point, and I think that's the interesting thing about this whole saga. Because what Harbaugh did, I think, is the most egregious thing you could absolutely do to have an advantage. I'm just telling you, as a former player, knowing everything beforehand would be, again, you got to execute the plays. You got to not have people fall down. But if you have in your head confidently knowing what the defense or offense is going to do before they do it, there's your advantage. That's the advantage. Like because often, the secret, the element of surprise, the not knowing, that's what helps you. That's what gives you a chance. But when you know before the play starts, you should win every game. And so I do think it's egregious, but Urban Meyer said, look, the NCAA, which was supposed to be an enforcement arm, is dead. It has no juice. It has no nothing. It has no anything. Now, could you argue that what are you talking about, Urban Meyer? That's something that happened in his past. That's something, I don't know that ouch. Um, wow. I just got a zinger in my elbow. Like I hit a nerve. And by the and that's an old football injury, by the way. And I got that injury. This is kind of funny. So I've just put my elbow down in an awkward place on the desk, and I hit a nerve, and it's like a super shocking pain, right? You know how you hit a nerve and it's your funny bone or whatever, but it's like sharp pain. And I know that that's a sensitive area because when I would sit in meetings in the NFL, you had a desk like you were in school. And so I'd sit there for hours and my elbow, I would like push against the nerve. And I know I did damage to it or something, or it's become sensitive. And it's all because he sat in a meeting all the time in the NFL for 12 years. I think that's kind of funny. Anyways, back to Urban Meyer. And Urban Meyer, and is it right for one entity to enforce a law for the other one? Should the NFL say, "Hey, we respect your decision, NCAA. This coach has moved on to our organization," or it's like, look, he had nothing to do here. He's not cheating here. He's never cheated here that we know of. The league has let in a lot of scoundrels into the NFL, encouraged them to be in the NFL, given them like a bazillion chances of, a career. And these have been, almost horrible individuals, but hey, they've got talent, they've got ability. They move the needle. And Jim Harbaugh in the NFL moves the needle big time. Big time. Jim Harbaugh, without doing anything right now, is probably, as far as coaches go, top 3 or 4 most recognizable coaches. Probably, 2 or 3. The name, like people know Jim Harbaugh, and he's well thought of. And maybe Urban's just bitter. Maybe Urban's bitter because Harbaugh won national championships. He goes, look, I can go to the Big Ten, I can win a national championship. I can go to the NFL, I can go to the Super Bowl, I can go back to the NFL. Like, I'm a coach. And so maybe Urban's just got sour grapes and he's just bitter. He's just bitter about his time in the gosh darn it. In
Jacksonville.
Yeah, no, I'm just thinking of time because I want to get to this next story. Well, let me just finish my thought on Urban. I mean, Urban, would you say, has been, an example of maybe doing things the right way? No.
Yeah, definitely not.
No.
Well, and it doesn't make much sense for him to be so jealous of Jim Harbaugh because he dominated Jim Harbaugh in his time at Ohio State when Harbaugh was at Michigan. I guess the angle that you're taking here is with he wasn't able to have NFL success like Harbaugh has had too. But like, come on, man, you are maybe the second best college football coach of your generation and one of the on the short list of best college coaches of all time. Like that's okay. You don't have to be jealous of a guy who's also able to do it in the NFL.
See, I hear you, James, but just knowing how coaches are and how players are, the littlest thing like that Harbaugh might have a little bit more success in the NFL than Urban,
right?
It will drive him bananas. And on top of that, it's Michigan, Ohio State. So it's one thing if Harbaugh did it at like, Florida State or even Stanford or anywhere. If you're Urban Meyer, anywhere but Michigan. And just so you know, Urban Meyer's whole goal in his entire coaching career was to end up at Ohio State. It's where he started. It's where he's from. It's in his soul. It's like he always wanted to go to Ohio State. He's always hated Michigan, and he always hates the likelihood of someone like Jim Harbaugh. who just, because Urban Meyer had to, work through the ropes and the trenches, and Harbaugh just kind of shows up. Oh man. I think I'm allergic to the microphone or something today. That's very interesting.
Giving you
Anyways,
nerve pain and making you sneeze. What's going on?
yeah, Urban Meyer is making me sneeze. Okay, I want to talk about this because this, and I may revisit this later. But Connor Ingram, of course, the goalie for the Utah Mammoth, was on leave and was in the player assistance program. And a lot of it had to do with the fact that I believe his grandmother passed away, or his mother, and so he was getting help and assistance, kind of dealing with and learning how to grieve and all of those things, right? And so, as I read this, I'm like, wow. One, it's like they announce it, like he was in the program, now he's out of the program, and it was very personal, very, a tender, sensitive issue. And I couldn't think about the stark difference between today and how people deal with mental health issues, with personal issues, with all kinds of, substance abuse issues, everything. And in my time, it was like, you don't talk about this stuff. That was the perception. The perception was, if you got a problem, bury it. It doesn't exist. Like, the bottom line is, you play and you win. And if you show any sign of weakness, you're going to get run over. And oh my goodness, were there things that that I sure could have used some help with. Now, what they'll do is someone will come up to you in secret, and they'll go, "Hey, if you need to talk to somebody, we have someone." And that's it. It's not out in the open. It's not like this is a big part of things. And I grew up, when I went to the University of Utah, and growing up, I was like, everyone says sports is 90% mental and 10% physical. And my goal, actually, my idea, I wanted to get like a dual major at Utah. My major, I wanted to major in sports psychology. Dr. Keith Henshin was there, and he worked with the women's gymnastics team and worked with the football team to a degree. It was great. And then I wanted to be a physical therapist. So I figured I can work on the mental side of things as a sports psychologist. And then I work on the physical side of it as I can do all the physical therapy and the treatment. That's a brilliant idea. It's like I will be indoctrinated. I will be prepared. I will be skilled in dealing with, all the issues. It never happened.
Dr. Shrink Trainer Scott Mitchell.
Could you imagine? Yeah, I know.
It would have been amazing.
But I'm telling you, I'm so happy to hear this. And I know it's such a big deal. And I know that so many people suffered so much in silence. And you talk, I believe, well, there've just been a million examples of this. And I think it actually accelerates. Again, this is my opinion. I'm not a doctor. I almost was. But it was this whole idea of CTE and kind of concussions and all that stuff. But I also think that mental health issues and even probably drugs, and there's this whole kind of concoction or perfect storm of things happening, because there were real issues that I dealt with, and I dealt with them in silence. And I was like, man, I would like to talk to someone. And I didn't. I didn't because it was from the team. And you felt like the team was like, it was almost like, is this a test? Like, are you trying? And so anything, and you as a player were like, if I'm not gonna, if I'm like brutally injured where I can't play, that's one thing. But you just kind of deal with all of those things and you suffer massively in silence. And you hear a lot of people. I mean, Steve Young talked about kind of some of the anxiety and the things that he dealt with as a player, and he didn't really know what it was when he was going through it at the time. And and I looked, I looked at Steve Young life and I was like, that guy's got it made. And he's sitting
What
there
do you
going,
have to have anxiety over? Yeah.
yeah, you're with the 49ers. And he said that I had a choice every day. I could get on the 880 freeway and I could go right back to Utah or go left to the facility and go to work. And he said it was the hardest choice, every day. It was just like, I'm going to the facility. But man, did I want to go the other way. And so I just thought it was so fascinating that they said this, meaning the mammoth that announced it, and that he's back and everything's good, and off you go.
Yeah,
I wonder.
he missed quite a bit of time, Scott,
Uh,
in November, October, November, December of the season because of this. I believe it was his mother that passed away, and
his mother. Yeah.
and then and then later after that stretch, they put him on this. They put him in this program, the NHLPA, or he put himself in this program that the NHLPA offers, and it essentially made him done for the season.
Yeah.
So
It's
it is
it's
great news that
yeah.
he's back, and just very sorry for his loss, but it's great news that he is cleared to play, and he will. I mean, Veggie is now usurped the number one goalie spot, but there's a role for him on this team. The backup goalies play all the time in the NHL, Scott. So this should be
They do. Yeah.
hopefully a good season for Connor Ingram going forward.
I think so. And from my situation, like, my grandfather passed away when I was playing, and they didn't tell me about it. I was in Europe playing in the World League my second year in the NFL, played in an off season. And so my grandpa died, had his funeral, and I was in Europe and no one told me about it. Because they're like, we don't want to mess with your game. And it was hard. I love my grandpa. Just one of my favorite people ever in my life. It was hard. And then, I went through a divorce when I was playing in the NFL, and that was just the most brutal thing in the world. Like, talk about being alone and just, whoa, horrible. And on top of it, my religion being LDS and being divorced is like really, really hard. So it was, there were a lot of things, that I went through, and I just did it in silence and I've never really even talked much about it, but it had a huge impact, and it had a huge impact on my ability to play and perform. And so I'm just so glad that they have this kind of stuff. They talk about it, they deal with it, and they're okay with it. That's the thing, because never really felt like that when I played. No one cared. They didn't want to hear it. They just wanted you to win. All right, we're gonna take a break. Hey, we have Camp Kyle sound around the corner. Defensive coordinator Morgan Scally. Oh, this ought to be good. This is the Sean O'Connell Show. I'm filling in. I'm Scott Mitchell for the day, and we're chatting on ESPN 792.1 FM. Hello there, sports fans. I'm Scott Mitchell. I'm filling in for Sean on the Sean O'Connell Show. So happy to be here today, and every time I get to come and do this, I really enjoy it. James is awesome, and we have a great time, and so I really like it. I love to talk about sports and everything that's going on in the world of sports, and love to kind of, I don't know, make it relatable, or hopefully maybe be insightful and maybe inspiring and entertaining, all those things. So that's what we strive for here. Nothing else. And the bottom line is, man, I love this stuff. I love talking about sports. I really do. And from my perspective. So we're going to talk about it right now with defensive coordinator Morgan Scalley. Of course, this is Camp Kyle Sound. This should be really good. And Camp Kyle Sound has a lot of people that like to tune in because a lot of people sponsor it. Big Willie's, Budweiser, your Utah Toyota dealer, Sound Warehouse, Culligan Water, Beer Bar, Big O Tires, Baskin Robbins, Game Day Men's Health, Outlaw Distillery, The Advocate, Injury Attorneys. So with that, here's Coach Scalley.
Morgan, how was camp?
Solid camp. Excited to be hitting some other jerseys. Good physical camp. Still working out some kinks with depth positions, but very happy with the leadership. Very happy with the progress that our guys have made, and we pretty much know where we are right now.
What's that defensive tackle room look like for you right now?
Man, we've made a ton of progress. The freshmen came in and really have proven that they can play year one. So, Carson Kafusi and I would say Pupu Sapolona, listen, Semi and Sione. My guess is all of them see time at some point this season, but I would say that Carson and Pupu have kind of separated themselves from the pack, from the freshman pack. Add to that Leaky, and you got Dallas, and you got who am I missing? Jonah. So that's a solid group right now. Very happy. Luther Ellis has done a heck of a job with that crew. We should be solid.
Kyle said a few weeks ago that Blake Cotton had finally separated himself on that outside corner spot. What have you seen from him, from the time Falk started until now that led to that separation?
I would just say mastery of the scheme and physicality. He's got the speed to play corner, but to be able to add the physical element, the ability to blitz and leverage the football is a big factor in it. So that's another position group that you're going to probably see quite a bit of rotation there because we feel comfortable with the progress that's been made there. Sharif Shah is a heck of a coach and has gotten those guys to progress quite a bit. Add to that, the progress of Jackson Benny, the ability that Rabbit Evans has to play the nickel. We have some versatility in the safety room. So very excited about the secondary.
What have you seen from Lavani Demooney this fall camp as he comes back from his injury a couple years ago?
He's just trying to get more confident in that Achilles, just more confident, and we've done a pretty good job of kind of limiting the reps. He knows the scheme, and it's just about getting to the party healthy, and so the physicality is never an issue with him. He's not a guy that has to be in there and learn how to hit. He knows how to do that. So, but he's feeling much better, and he's getting increased reps.
What does his follow-up? What does his presence mean to the younger guys and everybody else in that room?
Well, you need leadership. You need those guys that are compelling, that will meet extra with the young guys and be able to teach in a way that as coaches we're sitting there saying, yeah, we don't worry about him screwing the deal up, teaching something we're not teaching. So leadership, you can never outperform the leadership that's provided, particularly from the players.
How does having Smith and Lander taking some offensive snaps affect the
I'm
defense?
so mad. So mad. No, just like Shonibaki last year, you deal with it. And it's a good thing. As much as I'll give them crap when when they're on the offensive side of the ball, and I'll talk crap to them, I also let them know how proud I am of them. And listen, if you can add wherever you can add value, you can help the team win. More power to you.
Do you expect to have Lander be the green dot this year, or kind of how does that role work for you guys this year?
We'll have multiple green dots, and the biggest thing there is in your substitution packages, just understanding that you got to have one in there at all times. So the good thing is the linebacker position, we have enough depth that the rotation, you're always going to have a guy in there that you trust. So whether it's Trey, whether it's Lander, whether it's Levani, all three of them are great communicators.
What's the most improved position group to start the fall?
Most improved position group, defensive tackle. Yeah, came into fall camp. That was a big priority, getting that, that position figured out, and I'm much more confident.
What does the rotation look like at defensive end?
Defense a lot, so all of them are getting reps, all of them are playing well. It's 5 guys right now, 5 guys that are rotating, and like I said, it allows us, in past situations to get a little bit creative, but very pleased. I do nothing, I got great position coaches. I'm just like, you guys are awesome. Lewis Powell's fantastic with those guys, and he's recruited the majority of them, so I just get to call blitzes and have fun. Who are we?
I can't see. What was one of your biggest takeaways from last season that you wanted to address going into this season that maybe you guys adjusted and fixed in fall camp?
Run defense, tackling, and taking the football away. Those are all 3 that I feel we've done a good job of focusing on and having as a priority, whether we're practicing every day. We've had live sessions almost every time we've been in full pads, and you can't be scared of it. That's football, and we're at a position now. We always said we'll just keep tackling until we feel comfortable with the group, and we're at a point now where we feel comfortable.
And then specifically, what does Tio Johnson add on your defensive side there?
He can play corner, he can play nickel, he can play the free, and now he can play the strong safety. He's much more physical in the box, so versatility would be the biggest thing that he brings to the table.
All right, there you have it. Coach Morgan Scalley, and the first comment he made was, we're trying to iron out some of the positions and kind of figure out the little subtleties. Of course, it's the cornerback position, defensive tackle position, I think even the defensive end position. And when he says this, it's like, here's the reality. Okay, let's just be honest here for a minute. And this is not a criticism. I'm not knocking anyone. It's just a reality. They don't know. They know what they've seen in camp. Yesterday when I interviewed Coach Whittingham, I said, look, are there things are there little telltale signs that tell you, as you go through camp, you go, I know what kind of year is this going to be. I know who we're going to be. I know how this is going to work out. And he said, no, I really don't. He says, I'd love to see that. And so they look at these players and they make an assessment. They go, based on how we're doing in practice, this is kind of where it shakes out. And the reality is once they get in the game, guys just play different. Guys just either fold or they just bloom. And this has been going on since the beginning of time with football. And why it's that way is because you're now under the lights. You're now like, okay, how do you deal with pressure? How do you deal when someone's looking at you? It was a fascinating thing that I learned to deal with. Like, I got to a point where I was so comfortable being in front of 80,000 people, millions more watching on television. And it's like, I can throw a football down the field 25, 30 yards and hit a spot, that's about the size of a tuna fish can top, just a little circle, and feel confident you can hit it, 8 out of 10 times or 9 out of 10 times. Now I get on a golf course and I got 5 people watching me. I'm going to hit the ball out of bounds. And it's because of that, you get comfortable performing. And there's something about people watching us that makes it different. One of the really fascinating things we're going to find out is this amazing kicker has got a leg. He can kick it. But can he kick it in a game when it matters? Can he kick it in the Rose Bowl against a Power 4 opponent? Can he kick it to win a football game or to tie a football game late? Can he kick the first field goal that he kicks? Can he just make it? And it remains to be seen because we all deal with pressure and with being watched differently. Now, maybe defensive linemen, and here's the thing. Everyone thinks everyone's watching just you, right? Most people, all they're watching is the ball. Where does the ball go? That's what people are watching. Some of the more isolated positions like the quarterback or a defensive back, when you mess up, it's pretty easy to tell. A defense offensive lineman, they mess up. It takes some review. You know, if you're watching on television, we don't have the luxury of having all these different reviews. We have a bit of it in the radio booth. So if you kind of don't see it in the moment, you don't see it. So they can hide. But I'm just telling you, there will be guys that will shine. And you go, wow, where'd that guy come from? And so they know, but they don't really know, the coaches. Which is totally fine. It's not a bad thing. And so that's what, you know, ironing it out. We're going to take our best guess from what we've seen in practice, but we know practice is not the game. And quite frankly, it's why I like that Utah has to play a good opponent early. I'm not a fan of, I just saw one year it was a cupcake schedule all the way through. And then USC on the road was the first opponent. And these guys ran by the Utah defenders like they were standing still because they hadn't seen that kind of speed. They hadn't seen that kind of athleticism with the opponents they had. And so having a good opponent and having them early, one, it makes you prepare harder because, you know, we've got a tough opponent coming up. And every person in that building knows that. And they think that every single day, even the coaches. They know we're playing USC or UCLA. And they're not chump change. So you better be ready. And you're so I believe your preparation's better. I also believe you have a better idea of who you are, and you have a better preparation afterwards, knowing, okay, that's what we need to expect. That speed, that tempo, that's what we're going to face in our conference. And you don't get that by playing cupcakes. Hey, I just want to give James a shout out because you asked a really good question. And I don't think anyone's asked that question about, hey, Morgan, how do you feel about Lander and Smith Snowden going on the offense? And I think Morgan revealed himself just a little bit because he kind of jokingly said, I don't like it at all.
Yeah, I hate it. I'm so mad.
Right. Yeah. And he says it with a tinge of sarcasm, right? And he goes, well, I'm going to give them crap when they're over there on offense. But, you know, look, we had Sione over there. Whatever helps the team out, that's what we're going to do. And that's a good thing. And we'll deal with it. And so to me, it basically says, I don't like it. That's just my interpretation. And I think Morgan's a team guy. I don't, you know, shoot, he's kind of the head coach. And I think he's like, whatever we have to do to win. But he's also super hyper competitive. Position coaches on offense and defense, typically there's a competitiveness between the two of them. It's always been that way, and it always will be. And so Morgan is a fierce competitor. He don't want any of his guys going anywhere. In fact, if he can steal a guy from offense and bring him over on defense, he'll do that. And they've done that a lot at Utah. Regardless, it'll be fascinating to see. I think it's a challenge. I think it's a challenge that you have too many chefs in the kitchen when you're trying to find offensive production. And too many chefs in the kitchen tells me, you know, you don't have anything really good to cook. So you gotta get a bunch of them in there to try to figure out, all right. But the problem is there's so many of them that you don't have the ingredients to do anything.
Do you think
and I think it's going to be a challenge.
Do you think as a quarterback that's for Devin that when on the plays on the series that they throw Smith Snowden and Lander Barton in there on offense, do you think that's confusing for a quarterback? I'm not sure what the right word would be. Do you think, like you talk about being too many guys to try to fix this, we don't have enough playmakers on offense?
100%.
Quarterback?
Well, here's the problem, okay? So let's say you put Lander in at tight end, And so let's say Lander plays 5 or 6 reps during the game at tight end. And those are 5 or 6 reps that JJ Buchanan or Dallin Bentley could have played, and they missed those reps. And then the quarterback, he's trying to get a continuity. He's trying to build chemistry, and they're taking the reps. So really, I believe that it diminishes your ability to be really efficient on offense. It's like, here's our guys. We're going to stick with them. We're going to give them the reps. We're going to give them the opportunities. It's the same thing with the wide receivers. You know, if there's a situation where Sione Vaki actually helped tremendously creating a spark where there was a deficiency, but then it really limited him defensively. Like, he was gassed.
He was not the same player the second half of that season on the defensive end that he was the year before in the beginning of that season.
Not even close. And so, you know, is it really a better thing to do? I'm not really a big fan of it. You know, if it's Travis Hunter and he's one of your star guys and he's going to play all the time, yes. But here and there, hit and miss, because now all of a sudden it's like, well, what if Lander emerges as the better guy? And you go, you know,
and take away from your defense, right?
Right. And then you go, well, we want him more, and we want him more. And so I think it's really challenging to really gain a lot of continuity, consistency, and production when you have a million different people. Now, if your whole system is built on, and that's what I've said, I think it's a patchwork of production. So you get a little bit of production from the wide receivers, you get a little production from these specialists, you get a little bit of production from your tight end, you get production from your running game and your quarterback running, and you put it all together, and you hopefully are an explosive offense. And we'll because they don't have a superstar, they don't have people to really go to that, you know, blow the socks off it. Well, speaking of blow the socks off it, we got hot lunch around the corner. Holy cow, do we have hot lunch? Can't wait for this one. I'm Scott Mitchell. This is Sean O'Connell Show. I'm filling in today. We're on ESPN 700, 92.1 FM. Hey, sports fans, welcome back. I'm Scott Mitchell, filling in for Sean O'Connell here on the Sean O'Connell Show, ESPN 792.1 FM, Utah's #1 sports talk. It's a hot lunch. Hot lunch this week is brought to you by Big Willie Sports Bar. Today they brought us the ultimate comfort food: chicken fried steak and eggs. Head over there and try it today. Big Willie's at 1717 South Main Street in Salt Lake City. All right, what's your opinion? What do you think of chicken fried steak and eggs, James?
Oh, so good.
Does it meet
It
your
really,
approval?
really is great comfort food. And I think maybe this was the hot brunch because it
Yes.
was more of that brunch breakfast item. But I don't mind brunch at lunchtime. So that was a delicious chicken fried steak with like a country gravy on it, and scrambled eggs and delicious hash browns on the side. I definitely recommend it. Lunch specials every day at Big Willie's, 1717 South Main Street.
Yeah, good stuff. It's awesome they bring in that hot lunch like that. Okay, I'm going to bring up a segment in a bit. And I think the only thing left of traditional college football is the rivalries. It's the only thing that we have to look forward to. Text in what you think. Is are rivalries the only thing that's left of college football? Are there other things that I'm missing that are still great about college football in its traditional sense? What have we still we can still hold on to that's traditional in college football? I think rivalries is kind of the thing. I'd be interested to see what you think. 877 353 0700. Around the corner, we've got a really, really exciting thing. It's the first one of the season. Devin Dampier, the guy, boy, he's been projected to be the newcomer of the year in the conference, and a lot of hopes hanging on this young man. He goes in depth with Sean right around the corner here on the Sean O'Connell Show on ESPN 792.1 FM.
All right, we're doing it for the first time in this 2025 season on the Sean O'Connell Show. We don't know what we're going to call it yet, not officially, but we got QB1 at the University of Utah, Devin Dampier. He's going to be joining us every week throughout the season, and he might fall in love with this process so much, maybe we'll get him all year. We don't know. Devin Dampier, welcome to our studio. Welcome to the show. How are you?
Good. I appreciate it, man. It's going to be fun.
Yeah, man, we're going to have a lot of fun. We're going to try and get to know you a little bit better, not only as a player, but as a person, obviously. And, look, you got to help us brainstorm. It was the Rising Report when it was Cam Rising. It was the Bernard Breakdown when it was Mekhi Bernard. We had people texting in and telling us, the Devin download, dishing with Devin. That sounds kind of like The View or something.
Dishing with Dev. That's a solid one, though.
Okay. Hey,
okay, the D.
The young man gets to choose. In any case, we're going to have a lot of fun doing this. Before we get to any details on football, before we get to an upcoming matchup with UCLA, I want to know why you wear number 4.
Yeah. I did start off with number 1.
Okay.
That was like my original number, and then
like from when you were a child.
Yeah.
Number 1.
Like
okay.
My first 2 years, and then I don't know, 4 just kind of stuck with me. Like I'm born October 4th, 2004. There was 4 people in my family at the time because we adopted Dorian later, but. I don't know, just my life kind of revolves around the number, and then just stuck with me ever since I had it on.
Okay. And at New Mexico, nobody else wanted 4? Was someone on the defense wearing 4?
No. So the way Bronco system worked was you had to earn your number, and if you got to pick your number in the first round, then there was no duplicates. So.
I like that.
Yeah, so I was the only one with 4.
It actually drives me crazy that in a lot of places – every good number, there's an offensive guy and a defensive guy wearing that number.
Yeah, right.
There's 2 1 through 10s. There's 2 like 11 through 22s, and then it starts to break up a little bit.
Yeah, everyone wants them good numbers.
Let me tell you something. I was a walk-on in college, and the good numbers just do not belong to you when you're
not at all. They put
like,
you in.
You're number 46. Really? Could at least be 49? You can work your way up to 49, maybe.
Yeah, put a receiver in like, yeah. That's how it go though. That's how it go.
It's exactly how it is. That's a wide receiver. Why is he wearing number 92?
Yeah, you're like, man.
We ran out. I don't know.
Let's guard this dude.
Famously, James, you probably don't even know this. The Fiesta Bowl year, the walk-ons, they didn't take us to any away games, and they did decide to take us to the bowl game, the Fiesta Bowl. It was like the big, culmination of an undefeated perfect season. And they were like, oh, man, we don't have jerseys for all these guys. Because we were talking about this off air. This is pre-budget for the equipment room, right? And my number on the roster all year long was that one they just, fine, you could be number 46. At the Fiesta Bowl itself, they did not have an extra number 46 jersey. So they were just like, they printed my name on number 57.
No.
I was a linebacker, so I was like, all right.
No, they did it.
Yes, they did. Yeah. They had no jersey 46, so they gave me 57. They put like 2 DBs and 2 walk-on wide receivers were all wearing number 83, I think. It was hilarious.
Yeah, that's wild. That's wild. I can't lie. That's a quick switch up.
The poor equipment room at that time was just like, sorry.
Yeah, bro. Like,
I'm going to print your name on this jersey because that's all we have.
We finna give you anything.
Yeah.
See, that ain't right.
You know what?
That ain't right.
Back in those days, we didn't complain. we were excited because we got the bowl gifts,
Oh, yeah, the bowl gifts. I heard that's the stuff.
Back in the day, man, when you're a walk-on who can't get food, when you're working a dang job or whatever, and someone's like, hey, we're going to give you – it was an iPod. Do you even know what an iPod is?
Yeah. I had a little iPod Touch, yeah.
Yeah, it was an iPod, and it was like a camcorder as our bowl gifts and those things. That was
oh, yeah.
That was a treasure trove.
Oh, yeah.
So needless to say, it's a different world than you're living in now.
For sure.
We found out why Devin wears number 4. Just resonates with you. I like that. At the University of Utah, when you came here, Was 4 open? Did you have to like elbow somebody out? In the NFL, you got to pay for a number.
Yeah, right.
Did you have to? I mean, now you guys are professionals effectively, but was 4 open when you came?
Yeah, 4 happened to be open.
Okay.
I think a senior graduated that wore 4 the year before, so
Okay.
I was able to step into that number.
All right. We're glad you're wearing number 4 in a Utes uniform. And look, we've had the conversation before up at the media availability of just, how you decided to come to the University of Utah. You and Coach Beck came as kind of a package deal. Has there been any point in this process where you've looked and been like, man, is this the right spot? Or has it been pretty smooth all along the way?
Yeah, I mean, for my experience here, it's been smooth since I've gotten here. Obviously, you have those thoughts just when you're in the portal, like, is this the right thing to do? And yeah, I mean, after I got here, I was like, oh, okay, I feel like I made the right decision, and then it just became more clear throughout the months I've been here and just the people I'm meeting and stuff like that.
By the way, the addition with Devin, we're going to test that out right now. Brought to you by Culligan Water. Experience the Culligan difference. You can see on YouTube they gave us a water cooler. We got a brand new Culligan water cooler right here in our Broadway studios. Uncommon education, trading, trade smart, be free, Polylift, concrete lifting and piering, and ARUP blood donation. Give local, save local. All right. The leadership role that you carry on this team, Kyle Whittingham very famously has been from the very beginning like, hey, this dude was only on campus for like 2 weeks before his teammates decided he was a leader and he wanted to be, and he was going to be part of this leadership council. Captains were named. You're still on the leadership council. The role you have taken on, the quarterback position is naturally a leadership position, but with your teammates, getting to know your teammates and all that stuff, is it deliberate or is it something that comes natural to you that everyone just ends up looking at you as a leader?
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of both. I think I'm deliberate about just being about what I speak about, just being the hardest worker, putting the time into football and just being around my guys. I feel like that's very deliberate, but it's also very natural for me to just be able to care for my teammates and find ways to, love one another and, play for them. So just building that bond with everyone, I feel like they can feel my genuineness towards them. And, just the leadership is just somewhat natural to me.
When you say being the hardest worker, I think of the guys I played with, and part of being the hardest worker was like the film junkie, but also the weight room guy. That's not necessarily natural all the time for a quarterback. Are you a big weight room junkie? Are you a guy that really hammers it out with Doug LSI and those guys?
Yeah, I take a lot of pride in my squat.
How much can you squat right now?
I think I got to 595 in the summer. So I wish I put a little something so I hit 600.
They let you put 595 on a bar and get underneath it?
Oh yeah, we're grinding. We're grinding this summer.
That's so much
weight.
weight.
Yeah,
How much do you weigh?
I'm 209 right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we'll round it up. 210 pounds, squatting 595. That's a big number.
Yeah.
That's for real strong.
Yeah, that's something. I've always had strong legs somehow, but yeah, I mean, Coach Doug's program, I've never put that weight on a bar, so
yeah,
he's definitely got me real strong for this season.
Jalen Hurts' max is 600, according to Google. Jalen Hurts, so you're almost there.
Yeah,
I like that.
We almost there.
So squat's good. Do you have a bad lift? I was never good at benching. Is there anyone that you're just like not real above average even?
Benching's hard because we
it's okay.
Because it's always modified for quarterbacks too. So like I always feel like we get the
yes. Benching is for linemen.
Yeah. It's for them big guys.
Yeah. All right. That's fine. I'm not gonna make you say your bench number. I'm not gonna.
No, it's solid though. Like it ain't like, oh, you're weak. It's just like
it's over 3.
I feel like I'm strong in a lot of areas. So when you hear my bench, you're just like, oh, okay, he's average.
Are you a good jumper? Do you have a good vertical?
It's solid.
Yeah.
Solid. I can dunk. So
you can dunk?
Yeah.
That's good enough.
Yes, I feel like I can jump.
Yeah, that's you're not even 6 foot tall, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Okay. Right. Is your height that they have you listed at in the program, is it accurate?
Or I'm somewhere between like 5'10" and 5'11", like
in real life you are, or in the program you mean?
Oh, and we're like in real life, like
Yeah. All right.
like 5'10.5" to 5'11", like that's where I get marked.
When people ask you, you round up to 5'11"? Or
Oh
you-
yeah, yeah,
of
for
course.
sure.
Yeah. I tell people I'm 6'3". There's no chance. It's okay. No one's going to visually confirm it most of the time. All right. Let's talk football. This offense is a lot different than what Utah's used to, what people are used to at the University of Utah. You obviously have played in it. You excelled in it. You had great numbers in a less than stellar year from a wins and losses perspective. When you extrapolate what you did in this offense with less talent around you and you put it in a Utah setting, what is it going to look like? What has it looked like at practice?
Yeah, I think it's just, I mean, for y'all, obviously it builds excitement, but just for me, I mean, being with our defense and, going against our defense, we got a top dog defense. So
For sure.
just being able to have those weapons around me now, and especially up front, practices, we're competing with those guys every day. And I think that, that shows growth in us to be able to be with a top defense. And, we're going back and forth every day. So.
What does the pass rush look like against you in practice? I know that they're not teeing off, but we saw your numbers last year, and we see now that you've got two of the best tackles in the country, and the three guys in between them are also really dang good.
Yeah.
My expectation is you don't get touched at all this year. But this is a good defense you're going against in practice. So what does that look like? I mean, is anyone touching you?
Yeah, I mean, no, it's a battle up there for sure. Some days, the defense does bring it, and you get a little bit of pressure, but I've never had a day with our O-line where it's been like, we're getting dominated.
You haven't had to get after them.
Yeah, like that doesn't happen too often, and especially if they mess up, they tell me, Dev, I got you on the next one, and they got me on the next one. So
nice.
But we've had some scrambles like just a little bit of scramble where you stay in the pocket still. I've had those for like 10 seconds before.
For real?
Yeah, like drop back, and then you kind of just they're blocking. They're blocking, so I'm excited to do that in the game.
Your elusiveness, I think we talked about this maybe at media day or something. It really is. It's pretty crazy. Like peripheral vision, is it a sense of feel? Do you have like better hearing than most people? Because you sense pressure even when it's coming from a place that should be a blind spot.
Right. I don't know. I want to say it's just like a natural gift because I definitely don't practice it or like things like that. But I got it's like a feel type of hear kind of thing.
Okay.
Just I don't know.
Spidey sense.
Yeah. The Spidey sense. That's what we're gonna call it.
Okay.
I'm just gonna start telling people that it's my Spidey sense.
You just know.
I have no clue how to describe it.
It's fascinating to watch because, like, we've all gone back and seen the tape, and it's like, how does he know that he has to move right now? But you just know.
Yeah. Natural.
Will you run as much this year as you did last year? You think?
No.
Do you want to run as much this year as you did last year?
I always play to win, so if it involves me toting that ball to get that dub, that's what I'm gonna do.
We don't question that. We're talking about what you want. Like in a perfect world, because I think there are players out there, there's some quarterbacks who know their dual threat abilities, and they enjoy just as much or maybe even more that they're a running back with the ball in his hand every play. And then there's some guys that were really good runners that have spent their entire career trying to convince everyone that they're also pocket passers and they just want to be throwing the ball around the yard. Where do you fit on that spectrum?
I mean, I find it very fun to run the ball. It's fun to make people miss and have that fun, but it's also fun to dot people up as well. So I feel like I live in the best world right now.
Okay, what is the more if I tell you, Devin, you can only have passing touchdowns from here on out and not a single rushing touchdown, or you can only have rushing touchdowns and you don't throw a single passing touchdown, what would you choose?
Passing.
That feels better. You like the passing touchdown.
It feels good to help somebody else get their moment, if that makes sense. It's just, I don't know. Like as a quarterback, I always look out for just everybody else. So even when we score a passing touchdown, the lineman, because I mean they made the pocket, so after we throw it, they're all bumping heads with me before we even go to the person who scored. So it's fun. It's fun.
How how does it feel when you hear people talking about the wide receiver room, the weapons around you, as, hey, that's a question mark. We don't know if these guys have what it takes to rise to the level of what we think the offensive line is, what we think the running back room is, what we think this quarterback is. Because those are your guys. Those are people you're developing chemistry with. Some of them are teammates that you've known pretty well. So when you hear or see like, oh, we don't know if the wide receivers have what it takes, as the quarterback whose job it is to make them look good, how does it make you feel?
I mean, I feel good personally, just especially after fall camp with the new guys coming in and stuff like that. That's a group that's working really hard, and yeah, I mean it's cool when nobody knows about them, because then it's gonna create a bigger story when they come out, and they're open 99% of the time. So it's gonna be fun. I'm excited.
Has anyone surprised you from like, hey, I didn't know that he and I would have this level of chemistry? I didn't like. I don't know how it works in your mind. I would imagine, previous teammates, guys who came from New Mexico, would be the ones that you think, I already know what he is and what he can be. Has anyone surprised you? Has anyone jumped off in camp, especially, or maybe even going all the way back to spring, where you're like, that dude can ball and I didn't know?
Yeah. I think just focusing on the guys that were here already before I came here. Like Zip was a younger guy, and
right.
Dallin was someone who hasn't played yet at tight end. So, when we got to camp, we just, it was the question mark, and those two, they held it down, and they show why they're here, and they're gonna have a big, contribution to our offense this year.
Devin Dampier is our guest here on the Sean O'Connell Show. Utah's starting quarterback. We are coming up on the first game of the season. For fans, there's a lot of anticipation, obviously, as this UCLA matchup approaches. What are the emotions like for you? Because there's a lot of preparation, obviously. Mm-hmm. But, football season, I try to explain to people all the time that when your body knows when it's this time of year, it's time for football season, when you've been doing it your whole life. So, I mean, you're less than 2 weeks away.
Yeah. My headspace and body just naturally hits like not a serious mode, but like we're dialed in. Like, we know what part of the season we're in. We know what we got to do to get these wins, and we just know what preparation it takes to, win games.
Is game day I keep a smile on my face type intensity, or is game day like you become an alter ego and that spidey sense is now your Venom and you're like a bad guy?
I have I'm very stylish. I'm very stylish, and then I got like a serious moment just right before the game starts, and then football's fun, so I should be smiling and laughing with the guys on the field. We worked so hard to get to this moment, so enjoy it.
When it comes down to film study, the team is getting into install now. The team's about to round that corner into, all right, cool, we figured out whatever position battles in camp. Now let's prepare for a specific opponent in UCLA, who, to be honest, incredibly athletic, a very talented team, doesn't have a super high outlook for the season, but they're always a tough out. So how do you manage the film study, the transition to focus on UCLA? Is that something you've been doing for a month, or is that something that you kind of jump into that playbook and jump into that scheme when the rest of the team does?
Yeah, I've looked at UCLA just throughout the last couple months. It's fun to get after it already, but yeah, now we're definitely week to week, one game at a time at this point. So all our focus is on UCLA, and just the main part of breaking down film, like you figure out what you like that you run in your offense, and you figure out what you like against their defense, and you put your best guys on what you think is going to work, and that's just what we're going forward.
How much does it mean to you that this year you're at a place where you get to test yourself against Power 4 talent, elite talent every single week? I say all the time that the transfer portal, what we envision the transfer portal as when it was put into place, is for guys like you, is for guys like Cam Ward. I think that's what it was designed for. Guys who were under-recruited, maybe overlooked, maybe had injuries in high school, whatever, and they end up at a place that's not quite challenging enough for them, right? And so they elevate. I don't necessarily love like the SEC to SEC transfer aspect of it, but for guys who get to climb, I think that's a great thing. What does it mean for you that, you know, I'm sure that there were schools besides New Mexico, as much as you appreciate your time there, that as a young kid you were like, I would love to play at a place like that. And now you get to be here in a Big 12 conference that, you know, tests you at a higher level every single week. What does it mean that you get to show your skills and prove who you are on a higher stage?
Yeah, you know, that means a lot. And I agree with you with the transfer portal. That's personally how I view it. You know, a lot of things are starting to shift in the way of money and stuff like that. But, I mean, yeah, when I heard about the transfer portal, I saw it as I can show my talents at New Mexico and then hopefully go somewhere where, you know, I can be a little bit more prepared for an NFL and, you know, go against competition, you know, closer to what you're going to get in the NFL. So, yeah, that's just been my journey. The journey's always been to make it to the NFL. So I feel like I'm somewhere where I'm going to get that competition. I'm going to play against guys that's going to make it to that next level. So I'm excited.
The business aspect of it, the money aspect of it is, for some people, it's an unfortunate reality in college football. For some people, it's like, hey, this is a long time coming. It should have always been this way. How do you compartmentalize? Because you have to be a businessman now.
For sure. You
have to care on some level about, you know, the money coming in. But also you got to be a football player first. So how do you manage?
I mean, the best way I manage, you know, I have my agents. My agents handle all that for me. But, I mean, for the most part, it's a team game. So there's a lot of selfish individuals that go into this and, you know, beg for the most money that they can. And you just realize that when you do that, it does hurt. It hurts the team because then they can't spread out the money to get other players. So a lot of NFL guys you hear about, you know, some of the quarterbacks sacrificing their contracts and just stuff like that. You know, and I'm big on that. Just let's get our team and let's go win a championship. That's my prioritizing.
Like the Tom Brady method, where he was never the highest paid guy in the league ever, but he won a bunch of championships, probably partially because of that.
Right. Yes.
That makes sense. Do guys in the locker room know? In the NFL, you can just look up what a dude's salary is.
Yeah.
Do guys in the locker room know what the other guy in the locker room's making for the most part? Because it's not public record.
Yeah, right. No. I mean, unless someone asks and someone answers, but besides that, you know, we try to keep it to yourself.
Is that taboo? Is that like, hey, man, that's not cool? We don't ask about how much money he got? Or is that something like people are okay to talk about? Because locker room dynamics have had to have changed with the money that's come in.
Yeah.
I mean, back in my day, 100 years ago, like, you were like, I can't believe that guy's got a scholarship. But that's as far as it went, right? Now it's, I can't believe that guy's got a scholarship and he's getting $500,000 a year or whatever else, if you know that. So is it something that people are willing to talk about? Is it like you're not supposed to go up on the street and ask someone how much money they make, whatever their job is. But is that different in a football locker room right now?
You know, I truly believe that Utah is different in that aspect. I just think the guys they recruit are a lot more about football and the love of the game than, you know, obviously coming here for money. So in our locker room, I don't really feel that. But, you know, I have heard in other places where it's kind of like oh, you're getting that. Well, maybe I should leave then because they didn't, you know, just stuff like that. And especially like even with the new game of recruits, you know, you hear the recruits come and, you know, you always hear that's what they're big on. Yo, how much y'all getting paid? And it's just like, it's not what we're about here. Like, you know what I mean? So
that's interesting. So, I mean, that is the picture that's painted for all of us external observers, right? And you're a guy deep in the middle of it saying that's really how it is. In the quiet moments, behind the scenes, people are more about the football than they are about the business.
Yes, I think Utah is. I think Utah is a very special place. I can't speak for every other school, but sure. I just know there's a couple other schools where money is being prioritized for individuals for sure.
What made you gravitate towards a place like this instead of a place where you probably could have made more money? Because, I mean, you had options in the transfer portal, obviously. You had an incredibly productive year last year. People were excited about your potential, et cetera, et cetera. So why did this appeal to you instead of that? Because money is great.
Yeah. Just love of the game and championship. That's ever since, the college football playoffs ever started. It's always been a dream to just be in that stage. So I feel like I'm on a team where I feel like that's very possible to do. And that was just my biggest mindset. Let's go somewhere where I can get in that championship moment. And this is the team I feel like I can do it with.
There's been recent years even where Utah didn't get to play the undercard, nobody respects us role. It was first year in the Big 12 Conference. You're expected to win the Big 12 Conference. At the end of the Pac-12 era, it was like Utah's going to be the favorite to win the conference. I think it better suits Kyle Whittingham and this Utah thing when you have a chip on your shoulder and you can say nobody, like they're sleeping on you, you're picked to finish fifth or whatever else. But how are people processing the expectations, external expectations relative to what you guys expect from yourselves?
Yeah. I think a common conversation is, Utah's offense wasn't the expectations last year at all. So to hear that and to know that they were only losing games by literally single-digit points.
Yeah. 5 games that were decided by a touchdown, 4 that were a touchdown or less, 1 that was a touchdown and a 2-point conversion.
Right. And we're saying that's a bad year on the offensive side. So
yeah.
In my mind, I believe we're taking huge steps from last year offense. So, if games were that close when we were bad at, I can only imagine what this year is going to bring for us.
Right or wrong, the fan base expects you to be the fix. Like, Devin's going to come in and save us from what we saw last year and what we saw 2 years ago. It's a lot of responsibility. It's a lot of pressure. How does that make you feel?
I love pressure. I think I'm built for it, but I tried not to listen too much to what's going on in the outside world. I stay very internal to my team, and that's how we go into every game.
Last time we talked at Big 12 Media Days, I asked you who's talking the most trash, and you said you and Lander are going back and forth at practice. Is that still the case? Is Lander Lander's still your number one opponent on the opposite side?
Yes. I threw one pick during fall camp, and it was Lander. And he gave me some stuff for it for sure. But yeah, I love it. The competition's real. That's one of the smartest players I've played against. Just on the other side, and he teaches me a lot just on the other side. So,
who's a better offensive player right now, Lander or Smith Snowden?
Ooh, that's a good question. Obviously they both do their different things,
of course,
and they're both gonna play. So I don't know. I gotta see him at game time. Let the game time speak for them.
Lander, maybe talk a little bit less trash as the games approach because he's going to have to throw you passes potentially.
Oh, yeah, he's been catching some balls, though.
That's wild, man. I love to hear it because football players should be allowed to play football, whether that's offense, defense, whatever. But it's not something that I ever would have expected with guys that are that valuable on defense that they're going to put them on offense, too.
Yeah. It's one of those, when you start to just know the game of football, you can kind of, I say play any position, but you could ball out at a lot of positions.
Is there a guy? This will be the last thing, and I'll let you go. Is there a guy on the team, and maybe there's more than one, who we're not talking about that we will be halfway through the season or at the end of the season? Whether it's a young kid or someone who's been on this roster who's ready to break out in your mind? Is there someone? Because we exhaust it. We go through every name we could possibly think of. But are we missing anybody?
I do feel like, the O-line does get the love, but, Moko's kind of the slept-on one just because he's been hurt and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I think Moko's going to have, that year for sure coming up. So that's a player to watch out for.
All right. I love that because I can tell you this. Michael Mokafisi is probably the least often mentioned player of all the starters on offense.
Right, he's a dog. He's a dog.
All right. Your guys got
Yep.
your back, Moko.
Yeah, for sure.
I like that. Well, look, thanks for coming in. We're excited to be doing this every single week throughout the season. And, you know, the Utah fans are very, very excited about what the season's going to bring. And a lot of that is on your shoulders. So enjoy carrying that load.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. We're gonna get some wins this year, you fans.
That's Devin Dampier, number 4 in the program, number 1 in your hearts. That conversation brought to you by Culligan Water. Experience the Culligan difference. Uncommon Education Trading. Trade smart, be free. Polylift Concrete Lifting and Piering. And ARUP Blood Donation. Give local, save local. Thank you, Devin. Lots more on the Sean O'Connell Show. ESPN 700, 92.1 FM.
Hello, sports fans. I'm Scott Mitchell. Of course, filling in for Sean O'Connell here on the Sean O'Connell Show on ESPN 792.1 FM. Fascinating interview with Devin Dampier. One of the things that I've always liked about Devin is he's an outward-facing individual, and by that what I mean is he's not an introvert. He like kind of oozes himself outward. He wants to be the guy. He's totally comfortable in this situation. He's totally comfortable. Like, okay, you want me to be the man? I'm gonna be the man. And not everyone's built that way. Not everyone likes that. Not everyone's comfortable with that. But he feels very comfortable with that. And to me, that's the most exciting thing. Like you got to just want to be there. You got to be comfortable being there. And he's been comfortable there from the very beginning. And why shouldn't he be? I mean, he's in a familiar offense with better talent than he's been around previously. He's more mature. He's on just a much better football team generally. And there's certain people that, like, when they know that you're counting on them, they don't want to let you down. And that's a lot of what he seems like. But he doesn't seem to be like nervous or overwhelmed by this situation. And part of that, I'm sure, is that he's played and has confidence and believes in himself. And I think he knows his game. He knows who he is. So it's a very refreshing and a pleasant thing. Now, I will say, and this is not a criticism on Isaac Wilson, but Isaac Wilson was like deer in the headlights look. And so much of it is just because he's just a young kid. And it's amazing to hear that he's come back and that he's the backup and he fought through this and really showed up in camp this fall. And that speaks a lot. So I think it's good all around with the quarterbacks. Okay. Jeremiah Smith, who's a wide receiver at Michigan, been there a year, might be like one of the top two picks in the draft. Uber talented wide receiver. Really good. He has come out and he has absolutely taken off any kind of filter, any kind of, discretion. And he just said, I hate Michigan. I absolutely, with everything in me, hate Michigan. And I love it. I absolutely love it. And it got me thinking about rivalries. And there are rivalries in the NFL. The problem with NFL rivalries is, like, it's just not the same. Maybe the fan bases, maybe some of that, maybe people, they grow up a certain way, but college rivalries, college football rivalries are the best. And I'm wondering if it's the only thing left of traditional college football that's great. I'm wondering if it's the only thing that we can hold on to. And we're blessed in the state of Utah. We're truly blessed to be a part of a rivalry. And it is. I promise you that 100% of fans on both sides of this, when the schedule came out, they said, where is the BYU Utah game? I'll bet it's one of the first things that people looked at. And quite frankly, when the two teams weren't in the same conference and they were in different places, you didn't care. But you did care. Because everyone commented about it. BYU, had great success against Pac-12 teams when they were in their era of independence. And of course, Utah goes and wins the Rose Bowl. And in the same year that they lose to BYU. And even though the two schools aren't in the same conference. And so BYU's like, well, we're the Pac-12 champions. And they, and so there's and it's like, and from the Utah side of it, it's like, you guys are irrelevant. Okay, your season's over after your fourth game of the year. And you're playing all of these just like no-name schools. And you better hope you beat them, because you didn't with a lot of them, and it looked bad. And the separation never separated the rivalry. And now today, it's so good. I don't know, James. I know I threw this out kind of last minute. Are there other things in college football that are still really good with rivalries? Did anyone text us back or?
No, we didn't get any texts yet. So send us your thoughts 877-353-0700. Other things that are still great about college football, Scott?
Yeah. Or maybe people say, "No, I don't like rivalries. I don't think they're good. I think they're horrible."
Yeah, I would be very surprised if there's anyone that thinks that way. And I'd question, like, why would you not like rivalries? Like, what's the reason to not like them? I don't know.
Let me give you an example of how this rivalry works. Okay.
Yeah.
So BYU names its starting court. First of all, let's just go back to the whole Jake Retzlaff thing. Okay. Utah fans are relishing in the fact that whole thing happened. And that's sad, but it's true. They're like, BYU lost their quarterback. Oh, too bad for you. And the circumstances with which it happened, although unfair and unfortunate, and quite frankly, any other university would not have been an issue. But it was an issue for BYU. They have their standards, and they got to do what they got to do. But Utah fans go, too bad for you. Now Utah has the upper hand. Yeah, I'm just telling this. I guarantee this is how fans think. And then they go, whoever you get at quarterback is not going to be as good or productive as Jake Retzlaff. That's what the fans are thinking. And the BYU fans are freaking out because they're like, man, we got this great season. And so we're starting a true freshman. And when he gets in this rivalry game, how does he play? How does he respond to this? And so now it's always about and it ebbs and flows like daily. And any event that happens, a recruiting win, a position battle win, a win and loss in the season, a preseason ranking or lack of rank, anything, it all is magnified times 10,000 because of the rivalry, which is awesome. And everyone is like, everyone is like freaked out about the game. Like, who's going to win it?
Yeah, and we're all worried about when it's being played too.
Right.
I know most of us hate that it's not only not rivalry week, the national rivalry week, Thanksgiving weekend, I should say, but also that it's not even in November, Scott. It's mid-October. Yeah. Like, we're all like that becomes a big deal because it's a rivalry game. I'm with you. I think that if you don't believe that it's the last great thing about college football, fine, but it is certainly one of the few things that you can look at and go, that is still something that I remember well before NIL, well before being able to transfer every year without having to sit out with the new transfer portal era, well before revenue sharing, that I loved about college football is rivalries. And college basketball is that way too. I think, like Bill Riley always says, the lifeblood of college athletics, college football in particular, are rivalries. And I always agreed with that.
100%. And well said, by the way. And I think of this rivalry because I started on the other side of it. And when I decided to, descend to the dark side, when I was recruited to Utah, people hated me. Like they were like, that's the dumbest decision you've ever made in your life. What's wrong with me? Are you an idiot? And you could agree with them. And there were times when I might have said, yeah, maybe you're right. Maybe this, and for a lot of reasons, and a lot of them weren't related to football, that turned out to be the best decision of my life. There was something that I gained personally at the University of Utah that stuck with me for the rest of my life and will be with me forever. And so I cherished that, and it was the right thing. But I saw that from the football side of it, the competitive side of it, I saw how much the other side hates the Utah side. And when I felt the wrath of this, I was like, game on. Game on. Now, I don't know what it is, James, that we love to trash talk. We love to I don't know what it is. Whether it's like you love to beat your little brother, you love to win against your friends, you like to do all these things. And there's this competitiveness, and it's even in the NFL, one of the biggest things that happened the day before a game was a lot of NFL players love to sit in their hotel room in the late afternoon and evening and watch college football games and their college. And you always had a bet on. I mean, Maurice Jones-Drew, who I don't even know, right?
Yeah.
We interviewed each other once, and we're talking trash, and we've got jerseys on the line for the UCLA game.
And not even a rivalry game.
Not even a rivalry game. So we like in sports, there's just something about talking trash. And there's something about talking trash and winning. Okay. So when I went to the dark side, and it had been 10 years since Utah beat BYU. And I hated it. I could not stay. And here's the thing I hated the most. Hated this the most about this rivalry when I was a player. That the BYU alumni and all their players were like, Utah's really not our rival. I hated that. In fact, that's why when Utah was in the Pac-12, I was like, yeah, BYU's kind of nothing. Our real rival is USC. Because I know from the other side of it, to basically be relegated to nothingness, that this is the worst trash talk you could possibly give to your rival is just they're insignificant. I mean, Urban Meyer did this where he says, I'm not, I think so less of this team that I'm not even, they're the team. I can't even say their name. It's the team down south.
And we talked about how Urban grew up in Ohio. Ohio State was a dream job for him. That comes from that rivalry. It's not Michigan to those folks in Columbus and around the state of Ohio. It's the team up north, and I believe it's the other way around for the team up north. So it's like that. I love that he brought that here to Utah in this rivalry too.
So I, being a part of this game, and I played a lot of football in my life at a lot of different levels, and a lot of different games had a lot of different meaning and success and bigness to them. I'll never forget beating BYU. It was such a big deal, and it was so much fun. And it wasn't even the fact that we won; it was the fact that we just kind of put it on them. And there are games I can't even remember, but I'll never forget that game. And and so much of it just has to do with that rivalry, and it's really enjoyable now because what do I mean now? I'm old and broken down, and I'm just a footnote in a lot of things. But you know what? I beat BYU, and you know what? Utah people remember it, and you know what else? So do BYU people, and that's awesome. It's really awesome. All right, we're gonna take a break.
Scott, real quick. Sorry.
Yes.
Dan Sorensen, the founder of Ute Zone, he's a longtime Utah fan as well. One of the reasons why he founded the site Ute Zone. One of the first conversations I had with him, he talked about his memory of you beating BYU. I think it might have been after you joined the broadcast booth, and he's like, good to have Scott Mitchell there, the guy who beat BYU.
It was a big deal.
You're absolutely right. Like there are people who will always remember that, especially the people who are around to watch it.
And see, I have that trash talk that it's always in my back pocket. It's always there. Live Night Events presents the 2025 Granary Live Concert Series, powered by Nightingale College and Murdoch Hyundai, Utah's #1 Hyundai dealer. Experience outdoor concerts in the heart of downtown Salt Lake's Granary District. Find more details on ESPN700sports.com. PGA Tour leaderboard update coming around the corner here on the Sean O'Connell Show, ESPN 700 92.1 FM. Hello, sports fans. Welcome back. I'm Scott Mitchell here, filling in for Sean O'Connell on the Sean O'Connell Show. We're on ESPN 792.1 FM. So happy that you could be a part of our show. Rivalries are a thing. They are a thing. Did you say you might have a few texts there, James, about what is still good about college football?
We do.
Or
do you
are
wanna,
rivalries good? Yeah, let's share.
Do you want to share those now, or do you want to do the leaderboard update first?
Let's do the leaderboard,
and then
maybe we'll revisit them down the road.
Yeah.
All right.
Send them in 877-353-0700. Thank you for those that have already shared, and continue to share here. We'll talk a little bit more about it.
All right. PGA Tour leaderboard update. The Tour Championship round of the FedEx Cups, brought to you by Uinta Golf. Dominate the tee. That's what you want to dominate, right? The chicks dig the long ball. Dominate the tee with the Titleist GT medals and experience faster speeds with longer, straighter drives at Uinta Golf. Give us an update, James.
All right, this is it. This is the championship is on the line, Scott. The FedEx Cup playoffs. Colin Morikawa is your leader. He's tied for first with Justin Thomas, and let's see, Patrick Cantlay and Ludwig Oberg is in the group, tied for third at 4 under. So just a shot back there. Let's see, Tommy Fleetwood, Russell Henley in the next group there, tied for 7th at 3 under, just 2 shots off the lead. Scotty Scheffler tied for 12th with a couple other guys at 2 under, just a few shots off the lead there. Of course, Tony Finau was eliminated a couple weeks ago, so he is not in the running for the FedEx Cup anymore. But this one, remember we were confused about the playoff? The FedEx Cup playoff format, Scott. This is the round, the final round where it's not confusing at all. Whoever wins this tournament, regardless of where they were in the FedEx Cup standings coming into this tournament, is the FedEx Cup champion. So they got the final round right at the very least, Scott.
Well, it's about time, and I believe it's just the top 30 golfers. So
yeah, top 30 golfers, no cuts. It's just
no
so
cuts.
Everyone gets to play from today through the weekend. Whoever ends up alone at the top of the leaderboard at the end is the FedEx Cup champion.
All right, should be fun. See if Scotty Scheffler can maintain his dominance. Around the corner, we have the namesake of the show. OC is joining us from Hollywood, not Hollywood, California, but Hollywood, Florida. He's going to give us some insight into PFL and kind of some of his thoughts on his interview with Devin Dampier. You don't want to miss it. A lot of Camp Kyle sound as well. All right. This is the Sean O'Connell Show. I'm Scott Mitchell. This is ESPN 792.1 FM. Hello, sports fans. Welcome back. I'm Scott Mitchell. This is Sean O'Connell Show. I'm filling in for Sean today. And Sean was kind enough to actually join the program. He joins us right now. Of course, we're on ESPN 700, 92.1 FM. Proud to be a part of Utah's ESPN radio network. And if you miss any of this, and you don't want to miss any of it because it's amazing stuff every day, just download the ESPN 700 Sports app. It's free. You can get us anywhere, or you can go to ESPN700sports.com. Stream it live. However, you got devices, you know how to work them, you know how to download this stuff, so do it. It's your fault if you miss something. All right, Sean O'Connell, how are you? You're in Hollywood, Florida. I know where Hollywood, Florida is. I actually live very close to that. I lived in Davie, Florida when I played for the Miami Dolphins. What's going on today, and how are you feeling?
I'm feeling great, Scott. Thanks for having me on. Hollywood, Florida, we had a big rainstorm earlier, but now it's sunny and muggy. And we've got PFL fights tonight. ESPN at, I think it's 7 o'clock Utah time, ESPN Plus at 5 o'clock Utah time. And we've got, on the main card, we got 3 tournament title fights. The big boys, heavyweights, light heavyweights, that was my weight class, so it's everyone's favorite weight class. And then middleweights, which is 185ers. So the 3 largest weight classes, 6 fighters, 3 belts to hand out. Somebody's life is going to change tonight. In fact, 3 lives are going to change tonight, and it's cool to be a part of that.
So when you have these different weight classifications, how big a difference, I guess, is the fighting, the style, what to look for? Is it one of those things where, like you said, you really like kind of your weight classification? It's the best one. Why is it the best one, or is it just kind of a person's personal feeling or their kind of personal tastes on which style of fighting they actually like best?
Yeah, well, I mean, I say that somewhat tongue in cheek because
I understand that. I know. I got
there's like heavyweights. Everyone likes the heavyweights just because there's like a mystique to the big, strong.
Yeah.
Wow, this guy's taller. He's broader. He's more powerful than anybody that I'm going to encounter, in my daily life for the most part. And we've been fascinated with the heavyweights in boxing and in other combat sports like MMA for the longest time. So people love heavyweight MMA. Sometimes it slows down a little bit, right? Especially 5-round fights, which title fights are. It can get a little bit, gas tankish. At light heavyweight, that's your running backs and linebackers,
right,
to put it in football terms. That's guys who have speed and they have big power. And then the middleweights are like your safeties and receivers. Still a lot of speed, still a lot of size, still a lot of power, but typically a little bit more of a skilled type of contest. So yeah, it's cool to see all the different types, all the different sizes, the different body types for guys that fit in the same weight classes. I mean, you've got some light heavyweights that are 6'5" and some that are 5'10", and that creates interesting matchups. And the same is true at heavyweights. So it really is kind of like a mixed bag when it comes to the different weight classes. These 3 all being at the upper end, you'll see, the middleweights will be the fastest tonight and probably have the broadest range of skills. But that light heavyweight contest, it's a kid named Sullivan Colley, who is an Arizona State wrestler, and he has just discovered that even though he's got all those wrestling skills, he's also got freakish power in his hands. So, he walks around about 220 pounds, and when
Wow.
he throws punches, guys go to sleep. So that's what people like to see. We all love to see the knockouts. Reason to tune in at 7.
When you talk about changing lives, what will change? How so? What's going to happen to these people?
Well, it's $500,000 prize to win the tournament. So they had to win 2 fights already to get here, and this one is for $500,000 on top of your normal fight purse. So the money obviously helps, but you have a belt, and there's a certain cachet, a certain status that comes with that in calling for your next matchup and in getting paid on your next contract and all those things. Just like in every other professional sport, once you have championship credentials, everything, kind of like stacks on top of that. Now you're probably going to get an invitation to do more sponsorship things. You're probably going to get, opportunities maybe to be on a broadcast desk someday because you have championship credentials. So for the winners tonight, you get to put that on the resume and no one can ever take it away from you. For the losers, hopefully you come back next year and have better luck, but nothing is guaranteed in sports, as you're well aware.
I've always had a tremendous respect for you doing this. I really have. I've never I don't think I'm the kind of person that could just go into a ring and go, okay, let's just duke it out here. And all the
You
other
could.
things. You know, it's
You
not
could.
only just your hands, he's kicking each other and all that stuff. And I've just had a tremendous respect for you to do this. I've never asked you this though. Why did you get into MMA fighting?
Well, it probably had a lot to do with the fact that my college football career didn't work out the way that I hoped it would. You know, you come out of high school and you think that you're going to be great, and you think you're going to be a every down starter, and you probably be a multiple year starter and all that stuff. And I had to bounce from school to school just to get on the field. I had to go down the ladder back to Weber State in order to get reps, and it was really unsatisfying because I thought I was a better competitor than that. And I always thought I was tough, and I became a fan of the sport by watching it. So I was like, you know what, let me try this. And when I tried it, it turned out I didn't suck at it. So I kept doing it until and somebody gave me a big check, and I was like, all right, that's probably good.
It's time to quit. It just fascinates me. It's extremely popular and just gets more and more popular, and it is very exciting to watch. Okay, I want to segue here to something else. I read this article from Jeremiah Smith, a wide receiver at Ohio State, and he's been at Ohio State a year. Of course, they lost to Michigan last year. Michigan won the national champ, or no, actually they won the national championship last year. Ohio State, it was flipped the year before. Anyways, I'm curious about rivalries, right? And I hate Michigan, like I hate him with every fiber of my being. And it got me thinking about the rivalries in college football. And of course, Michigan Ohio State is the granddaddy of all rivalries. And the Utah BYU one is pretty freaking good, right? And so I got me thinking, are rivalries the only good thing left in college football? It's the only thing that still holds us to kind of the tradition, the amateurness of it, the school against school kind of, or am I missing something?
It's probably the best thing, the most distinct thing about college football. So I'll agree with you there, but it's not the only good thing left. I would make a case that, right underneath rivalries is development stories, player development stories. At the NFL level, you just don't really have enough time. And you know this much better than I do. If you're a decent player, maybe you can stay on a roster, but guys can come into college football and they can be also rans, they can be nobodies. And if they stick it out, and it's harder now because instead of sticking it out, more guys transfer. But we've seen this at the University of Utah. We've seen it at BYU. You've seen it at Utah State. You've seen it at whatever college football program you watch. A guy who maybe is a red shirt, and then his first year that he's not redshirting, he's just a special teams guy. And then after that, he starts to get spot reps. And then by year 3 and 4, all of a sudden, this is a dude who you can count on as an everyday starter. And this is a dude who might be pushing for all conference level stuff. It's not always Jeremiah Smith, right? Where a dude is a true freshman shows up and he's an absolute freak of nature and gets to play right away. I mean, it's more often in college football that you have to earn your dues. And you have to pay your dues, excuse me. You got to earn your keep in this program, and you have to impress the coaches, and you have to impress your teammates, and you have to earn that respect. And that's something that you actually have time to do in college football still. So you can follow somebody's career from when they're in high school as a recruit all the way through their senior year and see that development. And in the NFL, while the NFL is the highest level, I mean, most guys, if they're not ideal, if they're not great in those first couple of years, they don't stay on rosters. I mean, it's like a 2-year career is the average now in the NFL. So the player development stories, I think, are another great thing about college football that's unique to college football.
Yeah, they really are. And as you were saying this, I'm trying to think of, what players actually have developed in the NFL, and there are some, and it does happen, but it's such a, hey, we need to win right now kind of business, and if you can help us out right now, great. But if we got to develop you, it's kind of like, kind of in the back of mind type of thing. Same in the NBA. It's like, yeah, if you're a rookie and you can't, we'll put you in the G League or with the Mammoth, those first round or the draft picks. It takes a year or two before they're really up to speed. But the one guy that came to my mind in the NFL was Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts was drafted as a project. He was drafted as a Swiss Army knife. He was drafted as a similar type of thing that Taysom Hill was in New Orleans. And man, that guy just turned into something, and it just far exceeded everyone's expectation. Goes on and wins the Super Bowl, and it's a remarkable story. Brock Purdy's another pretty good one, and so yeah, it doesn't happen. And those the story of the guy who is a walk on and then gets a scholarship, and those are always those really heartwarming things. They make sure that you see through social media. The coach announces a guy gets a scholarship, and that's a pretty cool moment. Well, you had a cool moment this past week. You got to interview. You had your first edition with Devin segment, which we just aired, which is really exciting, and I really like Devin. But just kind of your first impressions of that interview, and just what was one thing that really stood out to you?
Well, I mean, him talking about how strong he is stood out to me and surprised me. He said he squatted 595 this summer, which
What?
is insane. I mean, yeah, that's ridiculous.
I can't even count that high, Sean. How do you do that?
That's a D lineman number
Yeah.
in some programs. But so that's exciting. That's cool. Does it translate to him being, a great passer? Probably not, but it certainly is going to help him in the run game. The thing that stands out to me every time I talk with Devin, and this is probably like the fourth or fifth kind of one-on-one conversation I've had with him, and I think the first one that we've recorded where it's just me and him, the thing that strikes me about him is how much he loves football. And we talked a little bit about the business, but he wanted to come to the University of Utah because it is a football-first type of program. There are a lot of places he could have gone where he would have made maybe some more money, but he wanted to set himself up for success in the football realm. He wanted to be valued as a football player, and he wanted to be part of a culture that puts football in its proper place for student athletes at this college level. He's making money. He's going to be fine probably for the rest of his life if he's intelligent about investing that money. So it's not like, he came to Utah for free, but he's a guy who prioritized football above the dollar. And that's I think, a reason for fans at the University of Utah to root for him, and probably fans in all of college football to root for him, because he had to go through this process of thinking like, all right, there's a dollar amount attached to every one of these offers I'm getting from every one of these schools, but it looks like my coach, Jason Beck, is going to the University of Utah. And if I go with him, I won't have to learn a new offense, and I'll be advancing my career more as a football player, as a starting quarterback, as a guy who has aspirations to play at the NFL level like you did, Scott. But I want to get myself ahead in the football world, not just the financial world. And so he came to the University of Utah. That really stands out. And it sucks that it has to in today's college football landscape, but it's important for me to know that about the starting QB, that he's a guy who loves the game as much as he loves the dollars stacking up in his bank account.
You get a sense of that, and I get a sense. I keep saying that he's this outward-facing player, that he kind of, and it is that kind of, he loves playing football. But I also think there's a side of him where he was undersized, not highly recruited, and I think there's a little bit of that chip on the shoulder that he has. That's that good chip. That's thing that really drives you, and really is kind of, you hold it in your back pocket and bring it out when it's really needed. And I think he I think he saw himself sitting in the catbird seat. Like, I think he goes, oh my goodness, I've got my coordinator, as you said, the financial side of it. Look at this offensive line. Look at what I can do. Look at this program over time, and just the timing of where everything worked out. Just seems like it's just fit perfectly. And you just get a sense from talking to him and talking to Coach Whittingham, talking to all the coaches, that it's a foredrawn conclusion, right? it just feels like this guy's going to have a really big year. Am I being too optimistic? Am I missing something here? Because I expect him to have a very productive, explosive year.
I think everyone expects that, and that's the optimism that comes with being a fan when no games have been played yet. But you know that he's been putting in the work, that collectively as a group, the university's been putting in the work. And I've said this on my show probably 1,000 times. We have to stop pretending that Kyle Whittingham forgot how to coach football. He had a bunch of injuries last year. He had injuries the year before that. Those injuries are the reason that Utah football had a bad season last year. If they had even close to full strength on the roster last year, it's an 8, 9, maybe 10-win season because you still have Kyle Whittingham, you still have Morgan Scalley, you've got all those other assistant coaches that know exactly what they're doing. Are they perfect? Of course not. But they're really, really, really good football coaches. And people, because of bad years, and, it's a what have you done for me lately business, people start to doubt. You don't have to. A healthy team on the hill this year is a winning team on the hill this year. And Devin Dampier is going to be the biggest part of that. He's been putting in the work. Just go watch his New Mexico film. I still think there's a lot of Utah fans who have not. And tell yourself, or ask yourself, more importantly, ask yourself, will this style, will that speed, will those instincts translate even when the defenses are a little bit bigger and faster? Of course they will. Watch him play, and you will be convinced.
So you bring up a really good point about Coach Whittingham not forgetting to coach. And I said if Devin Dampier can just add a little offense, this team will be really good. If you have elite play at the quarterback, it's lights out because you look at every game a year ago and without really any quarterback play at all, they're in pretty much every game. They're close games all the way through. And a year before that, where they get, decent production in their last year in the Pac-12, they do have 8 wins. They do have 9 wins, and which I think was beautiful coaching. And it really is that point. No one forgot to coach, but it tells you the importance of the quarterback position. It also tells you of where the conference is. These teams are evenly matched if, like the thing that's going to separate you is, can your quarterback play at an elite level and be healthy throughout the year? And there's a grundle of very good quarterbacks in the Big 12. And I think Devin Dampier is one of them. It'll be fascinating to see, if you add that defense that Utah has with really good quarterback play, that's a great recipe for success. All right. Anything else stand out with your interview with Devin before I let you go?
Well, I was asking him, about guys that he's developed chemistry with and guys that he thinks are going to be productive in this offense alongside him. And one of the first names he mentioned was Dadron Zipperer, which, I think that there's this expectation that it's the new guys, the transfers that are going to come in and they're going to be the big weapons in the wide receiving core. And he called out Zip, I think maybe first or second. And that's a good thing, right? Because you want somebody who knows the culture, who knows the team identity, to be talented enough and dangerous enough that he can be something that your new quarterback can lean on as a weapon. That's a huge question mark for this team. And while I'm excited about what Whittemore and those guys bring in, Merriweather, it makes me feel a certain amount of comfort knowing that guys that were already in the program, again, that's that player development story we're talking about. A guy who had like 100 yards last year, maybe he's a 600-700-yard guy this year. If he can stay healthy and the quarterback can stay healthy, that's what I want to see. And I like that Devin is not just coming in and being like, okay, it's me and all these other new guys that are going to save this offense. It's him leaning on the guys who have already paid their dues in the program, and he's adding himself to the mix instead of trying to take over the mix.
See, I just like the names. Zipper, that's just a great football name.
Great name.
Dampier, Poo-Poo Cephalona is another one. Can't wait to say Poo-Poo is just really doing a job. That's what I look forward to, is the names. Well, have a good time there in Hollywood, Florida. I miss Florida. I love Florida. I lived there a long time, and enjoy yourself. Really appreciate you coming on your show, and appreciate you giving me the confidence to run the con while you are gone. So have a great night, and thank you, Sean.
You're the best, Scott. Thanks for filling in. We'll be back tomorrow. And everybody tune in tonight, 5 o'clock on ESPN Plus, 7 o'clock on regular Big Boy ESPN. 3 tournament title fights with your guy right here, me.
Love it. All right, there you have it. Thank you. This is the Sean O'Connell Show. I'm Scott Mitchell. Right around the corner, more Camp Kyle sound. We have, of course, the OC Jason Beck joining us on the program. That should be a lot of fun, and the show goes on. So this is ESPN 791 FM. Hello, sports fans. Welcome back. I'm Scott Mitchell, filling in for Sean O'Connell today on the Sean O'Connell Show here on ESPN 792.1 FM. It's been a fun day, really fun day. Really enjoyed it. I apologize for my voice. It is, I don't know where it went. It went away. I think a BYU troll has some kind of voodoo doll, and I think they poked a pin in my voodoo doll neck. That's what I think happened. That's who I'm blaming it on. Speaking of like voodoo, I don't know if this is voodoo, but man, it's an alarming thing, and you're seeing it a little bit more in sports. And you hate if it's like copycat kind of things or trending things. Apparently, Andy Reid, the head coach of the Kansas City Chiefs, was in his office, and this was about a year ago. So this isn't something that's happened new, but it's finally being reported that there were several shots from a gun, bullet, actually made it into his office. So they shot right through the window of his office in the Chiefs facility. And he was working there late one evening, and several shots were fired into the Chiefs facility. And you're just like, come on, people, this is just sports. It's not real life. You know, what's the point? What are you trying to do? And the reality is it hit about 15 feet from where he was. And so these random stupid things, you know, so often end in tragedy. But it feels like our major sports are getting more and more targeted. Now they've changed the building structures, bulletproof glass, but still, you're kind of in a vulnerable position as a person of notoriety and fame, and it seems like that some folks in the sports world are under attack, which is not a good thing. So I'm not really crazy about that, because I'm a big fan of Andy Reid. I really am. I like Andy Reid. And I'd like him to be around for a long time, so quit shooting at him. All right, listen. This Devin Dampier thing's going to happen all year long. He's a fun interview. Great job. It's actually up now. So you can actually go and listen to Devin Dampier's interview with Sean O'Connell on the YouTube channel here at ESPN 700. It's
you can watch
watch it. I'm sorry.
and
Yes.
Devin talking to each other in the studio. We did not have that on the show live stream, and we don't have a way of doing that live, but the video will always be up on at ESPN 700 Utah on YouTube.
All right, so there you have it. Go check that out because it's pretty cool. And I've got big expectations. We're going to continue on with Camp Kyle Sound with offensive coordinator Jason Beck, of course, thanks to our sponsors, Jerry Seiner Cadillac, S&S Roofing, America First Credit Union, Mountain Land Power Equipment, Advanced Window Products, The Steel Vault, Polylift, and Kilto's Brewing. All right. I'm sorry, Keto's Brewing. Anyways, Keto's Brewing. My apologies. Jason Beck, here's what he has to say.
Jason, at the beginning of fall camp, you said you wanted to go with your trusted guys, the guys that are going to be consistent. How have you felt like this fall camp has gone for your offense?
Yeah, that's been what we're looking at every day. Who's consistently day in, day out making those plays. And some guys have been emerging that way and doing a nice job. Some guys are close, and we're just trying to keep forcing that issue of what we're asking them to do so that we can count on them in critical situations. So the nice job is, up front, they're setting the tone every day with that consistent work, and for everybody else to follow along with that.
What progress have you seen out of Tobias Merriweather and Larry Simmons?
They were so new when they got here. It was just getting everything going, but they both have played and done stuff in the past where they're comfortable stepping in and playing, right off the bat. So they've done a good job just trying to get them up to speed as fast as possible. They're both doing a nice job coming along and will help us this year.
How have you seen this tight end room maybe evolve as fall camp has started?
Yeah, it's been one of our more consistent rooms with that mix of guys showing up every day, and that includes like JJ. He came in as a young kid, and he's done a really nice job as he's been in there. And and improving each week. So they've been a strength of the group in terms of their consistency and what they're getting done.
Obviously the starting five gets the headlines, but what sort of progress did you see from the second unit offensive line?
Well, yeah, the starting five, they've done a nice job, and they've kind of been in and out a little bit with some different things, which have given other guys opportunities to get reps. So right now you feel like we have three guys that can come in and play, and we won't have to drastically change too much. So they've done a nice job just kind of establishing themselves and what they can do. And then we're just looking for another guy or two to continue to make that next jump where we feel the same way about them.
Wick gave us an update on the backup quarterbacks, and he mentioned in that there might be some plays for Bird. Is that something you anticipate maybe every game we might see him in specialty situations, or how often might we see?
Well, you never know, but no, if hopefully, we're healthy, we play well, and all of that. But if something were to happen, Bird has done a nice job. He's come in here, he's made plays, and he's done a nice job. So if we needed to, he can fill in and help us play. So I kind of look at it like we have a 2A and a 2B versus a 2 and a 3. So Bird's kind of played himself where he's a 2B, and he can do things at a high level where if we needed to, we can call him and get that done.
What has given you confidence about Isaac that allowed you to name him as the QB2?
He's really coming from spring and just took a big step forward from where he finished the spring, and his just ability to manage everything because of the experiences he's gone through has just kind of put him a step ahead for handling the whole offense and being able to do everything he needed to. But at the same time, Bird does stuff a little more like Dev than Isaac does. So it kind of has that door open where Bird can step in and do some things.
Devin said yesterday that he's working on, not taking chances as much this season. Have you seen that, the smarter decisions this fall so far?
He has, through fall, we track everything every day with all that, and he's done a really nice job with that. And so we just want that to continue forward through the season.
Who stood out at wide receiver so far?
What's that?
Who stood out at wide receiver so far?
Yeah, that's a great question. That's where, the most consistent is RD. He kind of maybe had a leg up coming from New Mexico with being consistent and having chemistry with Dev. But then all the other guys have just been, the new guys, Larry and Tobias, Zip's been in that deal, Justin's been in there. So a lot of those guys have just been improving, getting better. And we're just focusing in as we're starting to set that game plan on what can they do to help us win.
You talked a lot about mending your offense towards the strength of your team. Now 4 weeks through fall camp, I guess just what do you feel like your best strengths on the offense are?
Well, it is, mending the offense to that, and specifically kind of each guy. So even in the pass game, what can guys do, putting them in those positions to be successful. But we're looking to be a real efficient offense. We'll lean on the guys up front and kind of count on them to lead the way. And then as those skill guys perform in games, then we'll see what direction that takes. I've been a part of this where you think you have a great idea and you hit week one, and then you really find out where exactly that is with the playmaking in the game.
All right, there you have it. Jason Beck, offensive coordinator from the University of Utah. A couple of funny things. I don't know if they're funny, but it's fascinating. He don't want to tell you anything. Like he's like, well, who are the wide receivers? Who stand out at you? And he's like, wide receivers. That's a good question. And he's like, I know, but I don't know that I want to let you know right now what's going on. And which is a funny thing because you talk to Coach Whittingham. Coach Whittingham says, we have absolutely identified the 5-7 guys that are going to be traveling, going to get all the reps. We know who they are. Now, Coach Witt's not telling you, but he does tell you. He says, he speaks. You hear names, and of course, Jason mentioned the names. And they're the names you hope and you want to hear, and they're feeling fairly good about the new guys and what's going on. So I just find that kind of funny, and I find it kind of interesting. Now, here's another thing to me that I think is interesting. This is a massive challenge, and he even admitted it at the end. He doesn't know these guys. He knows a couple of guys that came from New Mexico. He knows what they can do. He doesn't even know what this offensive line can do. They don't know anything right now. And they could get into, like you said, we can get into game one and go, no. Because I'll tell you a name I'm not hearing. There's two names I'm not hearing. I'm not hearing Hunter Andrews. I'm not hearing quarterback / wide receiver Johnson. What's his first name? Why can't I remember? See, that's the problem. You don't even hear his name and you forget him.
Nate Johnson.
Nate Johnson. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yes. I apologize.
Swiss Army knife, athlete.
You're not hearing
Nate
any of
Johnson.
that. Now, that could be that he's really involved in things and they don't want to talk about it. The fascinating part, because, when Jason Beck got here, the tight ends were non-existent in the offense at New Mexico. And one of the things he said, the most consistent people we are trusting right now are the tight ends. And quite frankly, tight ends are beautiful. It's a beautiful pairing on an offense when a team can run the football, because you put tight ends in the game because you're going to run it. And so play action and throwing to tight ends can be huge. And there's so many great holes and areas that tight ends are so good at finding. And Utah's had just a staple of tight ends who are very capable of finding those spots. So I still think that Jason Beck has a monumental task. I still don't think he knows. It's very similar to Morgan. They're optimistic. They like what they see. They're making judgment calls off of what they've seen in practice. But again, practice and games are a different deal, and they know this. Like they really know this. Now, if they're seasoned, they've been around. These guys have been, a veteran team. Then we're pretty comfortable with this. Now, to me, I like it. And the reason I like it is because these players are hungry. These players want to get on the field. They're competing. They're putting their best foot forward. This is a new offense, a new opportunity. And so you're going to get the kind of best effort from them here. And that's a good thing. That's what you want. You don't get guys because some guys, hey, I'm the returning starter and I'm the deal. And sometimes they get complacent, and sometimes they don't have as good a year as they had before. So you have that going for you. That's a positive thing for this Utah team to going into the season. I still, I'm still trying to figure out how they fit all this together, and then they fit those defensive players and how that all works. And sometimes you get too much going on. We talked about this, but you just can't create that continuity and that chemistry. So Jason Beck puts this all together. He needs an Academy Award or some kind of award, because he'll have done a great thing. All right,
Scott. The other we talked about earlier how Smith Snowden and Lander Barton being implemented in this offense, however limited a role that will be, complicates things for Devin Dampier and for Jason Beck. But I hadn't even considered you also have Nate Johnson being this athlete who you may or may not think about going out there lining up as quarterback sometimes because he has that experience. That complicates some things. And then also what I asked Jason about that I didn't expect a real answer from, but I'm like, I feel like it needs to be followed up on, that Witt said to us earlier in the week before I asked Jason, was that they're planning on giving Bird Ficklin some specialty plays in this offense too. However many times a game we see that, however many games we see that in. I mean, that kind of complicates things too, Scott. So I'm with you. Like, if he's able to pull this off and have the offense that all Utes fans hope that they're going to have this year, I mean, he's got to be like coordinator of the year or something.
Yeah.
That's a lot to deal with.
It's a good point about Bird Ficklin. Bird Ficklin maybe took over that spot that they had, because they had Nate Johnson doing a lot of that in the spring, having him run those quarterback run pass options. Why would they do that with a quarterback like Devin Dampier? Because it's kind of plugging someone else doing the same thing, which is scary because, think about this. You're in a drive, you're going down the field, your quarterback is in the game, he's in the flow, and you get in the most critical area, like the 2-yard line, and then you go, let's bring in someone who hasn't played in the game yet. So they've got the nerves, they're cold, they're not into the flow of things, and then they go in the most critical situation and they try to run them in the end zone. To me, I'm not a fan of that. That to me just spells disaster more often than it spells success.
We've
So
seen success with it with like in the back in the day with Matt Asiata. He was really good in
yeah,
those situations. Ben Moa, even farther back, was really good in those situations, Kyle Whittingham era. But then we also saw just last year Brant Keithy, and that was a disaster in those situations.
yeah.
So you're right. Like sometimes, and maybe it's depending on the player you have on there, you have in there doing that. I don't know what it quite depends on, but sometimes you can have a lot of success. It's like this change up that the defense isn't ever ready for. Other times it can be really pedestrian, like we saw when Brant Keithy tried to be the Wildcat quarterback.
And you run, and here's the other challenge that Jason Beck is going to run into. So you're going to play UCLA. You're going to have your first game. It's probably going to be pretty vanilla what you're doing. You're going to just call plays, give people confidence, you're still trying to figure stuff out. But so then the next 2 weeks you're playing opponents that you're going to just roll over. So the question is, how much do you want to show your first conference opponent, Texas Tech, what you're doing? But also you need the reps. You need game reps and figure how you're still trying to figure out who you are and what you're doing. And so you might see more of the first team or more guys in these second and third non-conference games because they have to. They've got to identify who they are, and in doing so they may show more of, hey, this is kind of who we are offensively, and it could be, and coaches think this way, and how much do we want to show versus how much do we need to work, and I think Utah needs a lot of work. So it'll be funny, or I mean, it'll be fascinating. So, all right, we're gonna come back. Topical trivia. Oh, I got a good one today. End the show here. This is the Sean O'Connell Show, ESPN 700 92.1 FM. Hey, sports fans, welcome back. It is the Sean O'Connell Show here on ESPN 792.1 FM. Scott Mitchell filling in for Sean today. Been a fun day. Oh, man, I just love doing this. Really enjoy it. So hope you've enjoyed it as well. We're going to wrap this up. So we're going to give you something. So we have topical trivia. Of course, it's a Big Willie's gift card. And, man, the food at Big Willie's is amazing. It's really good. They did drop some stuff off for lunch today. So the topical trivia question is this. What was the food item for lunch that Big Willie's brought by the studio today? Text that in 877-353-0700. You win a Big Willie's gift card. 1717 South Main Street, Salt Lake. And they're good, man. I'm telling you, the food's been outstanding. Speaking of what's good, love rivalries. Of course, we talked to OC on the phone, and he talked about kind of player development. That was kind of one of the things that's still good about college football. And we had a few folks text in. Tell us a couple of things folks thought was still good about college football. We want to end this on a positive note.
Yeah, we had a few really good responses from the text line. Shout out to you guys. This one, college football athletes have not made it pro yet, so they, in my opinion, have to work harder and try harder to prove themselves. He likes the effort and heart from college athletes. Also, in states where there isn't an NFL team like Utah, for example, it's the only high-level football you can watch in person without major planning. So those are two things for this texter that he likes about college football.
Well said. I agree with all of those things, actually. I think it's look, it's still going to be football. It's still going to be college football. It's not going away. The one constant in life is change. We're just going through some changes, and I think cooler heads at the end of the day will actually prevail, and we'll see, where it ends up. But I'm a big fan of college football. I'm a big fan of football in general. I think it's going to be a great season for the Utes. I love that there's a rivalry between Utah and BYU. I absolutely love it. And I'm okay if it's, we don't like each other. It's fine. Because when you compete, just so you know, when you compete, you don't compete to be like, let's be kind of fair. No, it's like you compete to win. And that's okay. It doesn't hurt my feelings.
Couple others, Scott. This texture says college football atmospheres are still great and still one of the best things about college football. I agree with that one too. There's a difference between the college football atmosphere and the NFL atmosphere for sure.
I think there's going to be a good atmosphere up on the hill this year. I think I do, and it is. It's one of the things. I'll tell you one of the things when you talk about traditions of college football. That end of the third quarter when they do the celebration of, happiness, and man, that gets me every time. It does. I get emotional with that.
The moment of loudness is amazing.
Several other ones in the country. I think in Iowa they wave to all the cancer patients in the hospital, and the whole fans stand up and turn around and give them a big salute. And that's a cool thing. And some of those traditions like that are awesome. Did you have something to say, James?
I was the moment of loudness, what you're talking about, amazing. And those traditions kind of go hand in hand with why the atmospheres are so good too, Scott. So they're almost the same thing.
Yep. Look, when we went to the Rose Bowl and Ohio State dotted the I with their band, it's pretty good. Even though we were competing against them, it was pretty good.
Best
Some of the fight
band
songs
in the land, Scott.
Yeah. Good stuff.
The other one, and then someone commented about rivalries. Love the hate in rivalries. Love the happiness when we beat Team Down South, TDS. And I also feel sick when we lose, but I like that. Don't we like that? We like the emotions on both spectrums. That's another reason why the rivalries are the best.
We want to get them this year. That's because we lost. So that's a good thing. All right, this show's been a good thing, but it's got to end right now. So thank you for tuning in. It's been a lot of fun. Thanks, James, for all that you've done today. You're awesome. And, of course, we look forward to The Drive with Spence Checketts next here on ESPN 792.1 FM. Until then, we'll see you then.